Okay, well, let's welcome our audience. Welcome to the Ready, Set, Gemini podcast. I am Dan Mora, your host, and directly across from me,
It's Frank Smithson.
How you doing, Frank?
Doing good. Looking forward to 2 more weeks until the Christmas holidays.
Got any plans?
I am taking off the day before New Year's Eve through New Year's Day. So
2 days? Wow.
No, it's the whole week.
Oh, you said New Year's instead of Christmas. I think you meant
Sorry.
Christmas.
Day before Christmas Eve through New Year's Day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think we have the day after off is a Monday. So the day after is actually,
Yeah.
I'm going to get a hot tub probably installed by then if deer hunting doesn't get in the way. I finally figured out I'm going to put brick down in that area instead of decking.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed the contract for my pool. I don't know if I told you that.
Nice.
Gave them the first $1,000 of many more to come. And they're going to break ground in February. But they're also going to lay that brick patio.
Oh,
so
cool.
it's going to extend my whole brick patio out. I think it'll be cool. They're going to dig a big trench underneath everything for the drainage for the barbecue island sink as well. And then it's just up to me to paint the outside of, I got a wooden hot tub for audience members that don't know. So it's old school hippie style. I'm going to paint or stain the outside to weatherproof it. And then the inside is just water. So I got to build that, hook up all the pumps, heater system, all of
Nice.
that. And then enjoy hot water in cold weather.
Think it'll be done, the hot tub, before the holiday?
If I can go get a deer this weekend, then I can put energy into it.
Because, I wouldn't mind an invite.
Oh, no, you're for sure invited.
Over the holiday weekend. That would be great.
Yeah.
All right.
Or I'll be hunting deer. So if I suck at hunting deer this coming weekend and the next, then I might still be hunting during that time. We'll see where it goes.
All right. Yeah, I don't have much planned. We're gonna stick at home. Maybe do a friends thing, because we don't have kids for the Christmas week.
Shoot me an invite. That'd be awesome.
Provide some drinky drinks and some nice food.
Yeah, we do Christmas morning at my mom's, and then we do Christmas Eve at Becky's mom's.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, today our topic is we're going to do a legislative update. So there's some fun things going on that we think are of note. So kind of start from the beginning per se. We have new leadership, new speaker for the legislature. Interestingly, there are 37 new representatives. So in the assembly, 24 new and 13 new representatives. What is of note and really important for people to understand is that there's still a supermajority on the Democratic side. And you could argue whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. The people that I know in the Capitol, they don't think that it's good to have a supermajority, that there's no balance of power, which there should be. It's kind of designed for that. So with a supermajority, the unions are, I'm quoting from somebody that I talked to, exceedingly powerful. So what does that mean for the upcoming year, the upcoming legislative year? There's a couple things to focus on, or that for last year was an increase in caps on tort cases. And so this was something that had been going on for a long time. The Ledge Council and the State Bar was focused on, had been asking for caps to be increased on tort cases. So that happened in 2022. For 2023, there was an attempt to get remote appearances codified, and it did not happen. So it's set to be repealed from COVID provisions regarding remote appearances, set to be repealed on 7/1. So we kind of think that there's going to be something that's attacked in 2023 to reinforce that.
Are there entities out there that want to go away from remote? Because it seems like remote's smart.
There are, and I don't. I can speculate that it has a bit to do with just the empathy of being in person.
Sure.
And I think too, the access to technology is also an issue as well. I think that would probably be the resistance to having remote appearances.
I think if things are being litigated, maybe it makes more sense. But if it's just like a simple hearing, standard routine practice type stuff.
Well, as an example, another thing that's being focused on is the court reporter shortage. So there's opposing views on this. One, it says that there's a dire crisis, that this is a crisis of court reporters. And we, as laymen, we think, put a recorder in, put a recorder in the courtroom. Why does there need to be a reporter? The reporters are unionized for one reason. And I think that similarly to remote appearances, you have a live person, the empathy per se, but as a reporter dealing with empathy. Is technology, though, can it be spoofed? If you don't have a person that's the intermediary between the technology, I think that those are the arguments that you have.
I mean, we're headed towards deep fakes, right? Big spoofing that can happen. So yeah, I guess if you had a person that was like saying, hey, I'm responsible for this and this is true and accurate,
right?
There's some value there. That doesn't mean you need them to be in court doing the work. You could do the recording and then you could have someone manage it on the backside, which would allow one person to then manage a lot more work. And I think court reporters see the writing on the wall, and that's why where we're at is it doesn't make sense to move into an industry that unfortunately has got all the telltale signs of it dying.
Yeah. There are solutions like that being proposed, but that's what we possibly is coming up in 2023. Another thing that's really interesting is that we've had the California economy, the budget is heavily tied, or the monetary system is heavily tied to the stock market. What has happened in 2022, there was a Prop 30 that was a marginal tax rate for over $2 million in earnings that was denied. The California voters said, no, we do not want to increase taxes over $2 million in income, which is super interesting. I thought that would have got passed easy. The state relying on the economy, number one, and secondly, relying on income tax. So 70% of the income of the budget is tied to income tax. So that's the top 1% paying about 35% of the total revenue. All this to say, there was a $100 billion surplus during COVID with the economy going up. They are predicting for this year a $25 billion budget deficit. So what does this mean?
So recession hits California way hard.
Yeah.
This type of situation, because people are spending less, and if that's where the taxes come from, then there's no taxes going to the government either.
So sales tax is obviously a source, but what they're talking about doing is I see this coming down, is they're going to start taxing services. So our economy, many economies have definitely transitioned from a thing, tangible products and services for sale to a lot of services and intangible things. I was thinking recently, like my kids are of the age they're really into music. And I'm like, why would I buy them a CD? I mean, I can't, like, why? That doesn't make any sense. First, I can't find a CD. I don't have a CD player in my house.
I think your kids would not be super happy if you bought them CDs.
But they might like records, just for that kind of nostalgic,
yeah,
look and feel. But point being, that's an example of where the wrestle between the economy has changed in that regard from lots of...
It's been headed that way for a long time. I think the U.S. with all of the outsourcing of manufacturing, what's left?
Yeah, so services, I think, is going to be a target.
How's that going to impact... work comp industry? That's an interesting one.
So thank goodness we have a billing code for sales tax. So it's a pass through for us.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a lot. That's a lot of money that the insurance companies are going to be paying us in sales tax that we then pass on to the state.
Interesting.
Yeah. So how are they going to deal with that? We don't know, but it's just something coming down. So big deal for workers' compensation. I think that the writing is definitely on the wall. There was a WCRB report that came out last week. This is the Workers' Compensation Insurance Rating Bureau, outlining the cost and of post-termination continuous trauma claims. So I've been hearing this chatter from all of my little groups that this is the target. They're going to target post-termination continuous trauma claims, and try to eliminate them, I think, in total.
In total?
Yeah.
So paint a picture of what that looks like for an injured worker.
So an injured worker, this report identifies a couple of things. First off, that these claims are late to be reported. So think about this in terms of they're dominated by manufacturing. So a huge portion, I think 70% plus of these types of claims are, number one, in the LA basin, number two, in manufacturing. And you're an employee and your factory closes down. You've been doing this repetitive work that is probably causing you discomfort, but now you lose your job. And what do? I guess, I need to obtain treatment or let it go. These types of claims are complicated and harder to adjudicate and litigate.
A lot more discovery that's needed.
Yeah.
It's not a single specific injury. So if it's been going on for a long time, you got to get a lot of records and review all of that.
Yeah.
It can be emotional traumas that come from long term.
The employers are, this is their target. They think they do not like this way of being targeted. So they close down again, you're an employer and you have to close down your facility, supply chain problems or whatever. And all of a sudden now you have a wave of claims against your insurance. It causes kind of a nightmare for an employer. Like, I don't have any employees. I don't have any income anymore. And now I have to figure out how to pay these. Insurance companies, likewise, have to figure out how to jockey this. It's complicated. It's an interesting...
We talk about work comp being recession proof.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of one of the reasons why it is. If people start to lose their jobs, they have more drive to actually file the work comp claim, which is not a fun process to go through.
No.
Right. But they're also seeking compensation for their injuries.
Or they're in a desperate spot and think, I think logically so. Like, I'm in a desperate spot. How can I get some sort of assistance here?
That's the fraud side of things.
Not necessarily. This is post-termination. Like, I hurt my back, but I didn't say anything.
Sure.
Or I've been doing this repetitive motion lifting, and I just have been ignoring and just trying to get to work, just trying to make some money for my family. And now all of a sudden I'm out of work.
So it sounds like we have root cause understanding that needs to take place. And how do we make people aware that if they are getting injured at work, they need to talk about it immediately, and they shouldn't hide it and try to keep pushing, because all that's going to happen is they're going to have more injury.
Mm-hmm. And definitely that is I think really, really important, but it still is a thing that people don't report the injury.
Yeah. So, but how do we fix that? That's more important to fix than the dollars and cents, if you ask me. And that's what it seems like we're headed towards with this type of, they're looking at the numbers. That's all they're looking at.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? It needs to be a little bit of a paradigm shift. And unfortunately, the money speaks. And what are you going to do?
Yeah. So I hope that this is somewhat enlightening, because I do think that we that understand the system, understand the other side of this report, because this report is all based on numbers. It's not talking about the families. Mm-hmm. It's not talking about the situations that arise and need for these people to file a claim. So I hope that people are active this year. Need to be. Yeah.
See how it shapes up.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll kind of wrap us up. Any final thoughts on this?
I'm curious to see how 2023 shapes up.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Let's hear from our audience. Please ask you again if you would like, subscribe, follow, give us some feedback on this topic. I think that the CT, post-term CT, is going to be a huge issue this year. So let's hear from you. And as always, thank you, Frank.
Yeah, and we'll post some articles as well. So if you're listening to this, take a look at the description and check out those articles, and maybe you'll have a little bit more stuff to comment on.
Right. All right, Frank. Thanks. See you next time.
Appreciate it.